Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Microsoft Office Add-ins Community Call for October 8th, 2025. My name is David Chesnut, and I'll be hosting this call. I'm taking over from Skylar as we're doing a little bit of reshuffling of assignments around the team. So I want to say thanks to Skylar for hosting the call up to now, and I'll be hosting probably for the next couple of months, and I'm looking forward to it. So joining us today is Arpit Sangwan, software engineer, who's going to be talking about some updates for inline images, representing them in Outlook on the web and new Outlook for Windows. And just a quick reminder to folks to please keep your microphones muted so we don't have any distractions for our presenters. Also, if you have any questions, just type them into the chat and we'll get to those as we go through the presentation. After the call, I'll be posting a blog, so if there's any questions we didn't get to, we'll put them in there along with some answers. With that, I think we can get started. Arpit, do you want to take over presenting?
Yep, sure.
Okay.
Just a second. Okay, then. Okay, thanks, David, for that. Yeah. So, okay. So this announcement is specific to Outlook Web as well as new Outlook for Windows, and there is a security change that's incoming. So I'll just go to the next slide. Yep. So there's a security change that's incoming that has led to this behavior change that's going to happen now, and effectively this will change the way inline images are present in the HTML of the editor. So if as part of this change, the ID parameter that was present earlier in the IMG tags would not be present anymore. So, okay, there's a security change incoming because of which the HTML structure of the editor, specifically the inline images attachments that we had, the IMG tags that we had would be changing. And the way the representation of the IMG tags was earlier would not be there anymore. So I'll just go to the next slide. It'll make things more clear. So effectively, what we see here, this is how the inline images have been in the editor so far. And there is in the source attribute of the tag, there is a fully functional URL today. So effectively, if the add-in depends on this URL to get the base 64 values for the inline images, or the add-in depends on the ID that's present as a query parameter in this source attribute, then the add-in logic would need change. Effectively, now the entire URL would not be present in the HTML of the editor. There would be an identifier for the image, which would be a CID. So effectively, the add-in would need change if it's dependent on parsing this ID parameter or in any way uses the source attribute of the IMG tags present in the mail. So effectively, I think once the changes start rolling out, the action that would be required from add-in, if the add-in is dependent on parsing the source attribute, would be that the add-in would need to have the parsing of the CID instead of the ID parameter that has been happening so far. And as the rollouts happen, I think the add-in would need to handle both the cases, the old logic for parsing the ID, as well as the new logic, which is dependent on parsing the CID from the IMG tags. And I think once the rollouts complete, we can deprecate this else logic where we are dependent on the ID. But I think that as long as the changes are still rolling out, this will have to be handled like that. The changes will start rolling out 15th of November for prod users. We have a dev blog here which discusses the changes in details, but that's the gist of it. Instead of depending on the ID for the attachment, now we'll have to depend on this identifier, which is the content ID or CID. And similarly, we'll have to use the Office.js API's get attachment and get attachment async for getting the base 64 values. Yeah, that's about this change. If we have any follow-up questions, I don't see hands or anything like that actually.
But there are some questions in the chat that customers have posted.
Yeah, I'll go through them. Actually, it's lagging a lot. I'll just stop sharing. And then you
Sure. I
can.
think the first question is, how can customers test this before rollout?
Just a second. Yeah. So for tenant specific rollouts, if we can get the tenant IDs, we can do a tenant specific rollout for the this specific change. If the add-in partners are ready to test it out, then we might as well roll it out in a tenant specific format.
Yeah, but it is also true that I think the old and the new solution will work in tandem, right? So customers can still have both solutions coexist while the rollout is happening.
Yes. I think the both solutions will need to coexist, but even then, if you need to test out if your new solution is working well or not, we can have those tenant specific rollouts eventually.
The next question is, will inline base64 images be affected?
No, the inline base64 images are not affected as long as they are still present in the base64 formats. But if they are attachments, then they would not be base64 images, and then this change would apply to them. So if you're just trying to add a base64 inline image, then it shouldn't be an issue. If there is some base64 image that already exists, then it should not be an issue. But if it's an attachment, then it would change. If you have any questions, I think you can unmute and I can answer them.
Doesn't sound like there's too many questions, Arpit. We could just move on to the next section. If that's all right for everyone. All right, I'm going to share the slides again. Thank you, Arpit, for presenting that. Cool to see. So next up, we'll take a look at the Q&A. So questions that have come in via forum or community. And so far, we've only had one question. This last month, developer was asking, are there any plans to add OnSave and OnClose event handlers to Office.js as outlined in the following post? It's a good question. Unfortunately, the team, the PM I need to answer this is out. And so I need to wait for them to get back, and then I can ask them and we'll find out. So I'll plan to follow up in the blog with an answer to that. It should be out within the next week. And yeah, that's the question. And we have some documentation highlights of updates to the documentation. So we have an Office Add-ins known issues section now. So if there's a known issue, we'll track it there until it gets resolved. It's a good place to check if you're seeing any odd behavior in add-in. We've also done some updates around the developer experience for storage and work with the add-in commands. For Excel, we've got the JavaScript API 1.2 documentation, implementing undo support, some JavaScript preview APIs. By the way, I will take all these links and paste them into the chat so you have them, because I don't think they work from this view that I'm presenting. We also have the FAQ for NAA was updated recently with some new stuff, so go check that out. There's also updates for Outlook. We just talked about that. PowerPoint and Word. There's some new preview APIs to check out. We'll probably have some more updates around that in the next community call too, by the way. And then finally, we'll just say, if you're just joining this call and you're new to Office add-ins, we do have resources available for getting started and learning about Office add-ins, from documentation to quick starts. Script Lab, if you want to just try writing little scripts and testing them. We also have plenty of samples. I think someone in the chat was asking about a test tenant. So I want to point out, like, you can get a subscription to the Microsoft 365 Developer Program, which you can be eligible for tenant that you can use for deploying and testing Office add-ins. And we also have Office scripts. If you need to engage with the team, like if you just have technical questions about Office add-ins, we have a Stack Overflow section with the tags here you can use to ask questions, as well as our own section at aka.ms/office add-ins dev questions. If you spot a bug, please let us know in our Office.js repo. And if you have any feature requests or ideas, we have a link there for submitting those. And of course, you can always use the Office itself to send a smile or a frown. There are other developer community calls as well. This isn't the only one out there. There's the Microsoft 365 platform call every week that you can go join, as well as these others listed here. I'd encourage you to take a look at the last link if you want to just see all the various calls and assets we have available out there. And yeah, kind of a short call today. Hopefully we'll have some more topics coming up in November. So the recording will be available on the Microsoft Community Learning YouTube channel at the link there. And again, I'm going to paste these into the chat in just a second. You can also follow us on Twitter. The next call is November 12th, 7 a.m. Pacific time. So please join us. We'll have some new topics to chat about. And if you have any questions in advance of the call, there's a link to a form at the bottom there. You can ask those questions in advance, and I work to get them out to the team and get them answered on the call, on the next call anyway. So thank you, everyone, and hope you have a great day. I will be around for a little while in the chat, seeing if there's any questions, try to help answer where I can. But thank you very much.